Today we're stepping into one of the most powerful and enduring thought experiments in Western philosophy, Plato's Allegory of the Cave. It's a story that's over 2,000 years old, yet it still speaks to us about truth, perception, and what it means to break free from the shadows of our assumptions. So grab a coffee, settle in, and let's explore this ancient idea that feels as fresh as ever. Imagine a dark cave deep underground. Inside there are prisoners chained, since birth, unable to move their heads or bodies. They're facing a blank wall, and all they can see are shadows flickering across it, cast by a fire burning behind them. These shadows are created by objects, puppets, figures, maybe crude carvings, held up by unseen people who move them in front of the fire. For the prisoners, these shadows are reality. They've never seen anything else. They name the shadows, argue about them, build their entire understanding of the world based on these fleeting, distorted shapes. Sounds strange, right? But hold that thought. This setup is about to get us somewhere profound. Plato, writing in ancient Greece around 380 BCE, used this image in his work, The Republic, to make us think about how we perceive the world. The cave, he's saying, is like our everyday existence. The shadows? They're the things we take for granted as real. Our opinions, the images we scroll through, the stories we're told by the media, our culture, even our own senses. But what if those shadows aren't the full story? What if they're just faint echoes of something deeper, truer? Now let's keep going with Plato's story. One of the prisoners is freed. Maybe the chains break, or someone cuts them loose. At first he's confused, even terrified. He turns around and sees the fire for the first time. The light blinds him. It's painful. He's spent his whole life in darkness, so this brightness is overwhelming. Worse, he starts to notice the objects casting the shadows, the puppets, the figures. They're more solid, more real than the shadows he's been watching, but they're still not the whole truth. This moment, Plato says, is like the first spark of questioning in our minds, when we start to suspect that what we've always believed might not be the full picture. This is where things get really interesting. The freed prisoner is dragged, against his will, out of the cave and into the sunlight outside. The sun is blinding, unbearable at first. He's angry, scared, maybe even wants to run back to the comfort of the cave, but slowly his eyes adjust. He starts to see the world as it really is: trees, rivers, animals, the sky. And then he sees the sun itself, the source of all light, life, and truth. For Plato, the sun represents the ultimate truth, the highest form of knowledge, what he calls the form of the good. It's not just about seeing things clearly, it's about understanding reality at its deepest level. Let's pause here and bring this closer to home. Think about your own life. Have you ever had a moment when you realized something you believed, maybe about yourself, about the world, about what's possible, wasn't quite right? Maybe it was a political view you grew up with, or a stereotype you never questioned, or even just the way you saw your own potential. That moment of discomfort, when the world you thought you knew starts to crack, that's the prisoner being dragged toward the sunlight. It's not fun, it's disorienting, but it's also the beginning of something transformative. Plato's allegory isn't just a cool story, it's a challenge. It asks us to question what we think we know. In our world, we're bombarded with shadows all the time. Social media feeds, news headlines, advertisements, they're all projecting versions of reality, often carefully curated to keep us hooked, to sell us something, or to reinforce what we already think. Just like the prisoners, it's easy to get comfortable with those shadows, to treat them as the whole truth. But Plato's pushing us to ask, what's casting those shadows? And what lies beyond them? Let's go back to the prisoner in the sunlight. He's seen the real world now, and he's changed. He can't unsee what he's learned. So what does he do? He goes back into the cave to tell the others. You'd think they'd be thrilled, right? Hey, there's a whole world out there. You've got to see this. But no, the other prisoners laugh at him. They're hostile. They don't want to hear it. The shadows are all they know, and they're comfortable. Worse, if he keeps pushing, they might even get violent. This part of the story hits hard because it's so human. Think about how hard it is to change someone's mind, or even to change your own. When we're faced with a truth that challenges our worldview, our first instinct is often to dig in, to cling to the familiar. This resistance isn't just about stubbornness, it's about fear. The cave is safe, predictable, the sunlight, it's unknown, and the journey to get there hurts. Plato's not saying it's easy to break free, he's saying it's necessary. And this is where the allegory gets personal. It's not just about philosophy in some abstract sense, it's about how we live. Every day we're faced with choices. Do we stick with what's comfortable, or do we dare to question? Do we scroll past the hard stuff, or do we stop and think, wait, is this true? Is there more to this? Let's make this practical for a second. Imagine you're scrolling through your phone and you see a post that makes you angry. Maybe it's about politics, or a social issue, or something your friend said that rubs you the wrong way. Your first instinct is to react, to comment, to double down on what you already believe. That's the cave. The shadows are dancing and they've got your attention. But what if you pause? What if you ask, why do I feel this way? What's the source of this idea? Is there another perspective I haven't considered? That's the first step out of the cave. It's not about abandoning your beliefs. It's about testing them against the light of reason. Plato's allegory also has a moral edge. The prisoner who escapes doesn't just stay outside basking in the sunlight. He goes back to help the others. That's a call to action. If you've seen a glimpse of truth, whether it's about yourself, your relationships, or the world, you've got a responsibility to share it, even if it's hard, even if people push back. Think about the whistleblowers, the activists, the teachers in our world who risk everything to shine a light. They're the ones dragging us, kicking and screaming toward the sun. But here's the flip side. Plato's not naive. He knows not everyone's ready to leave the cave. Some people will fight to stay in the dark, and that's okay. It's human. The point isn't to force everyone into the sunlight. It's to keep asking questions, to keep seeking truth, and to help others when they're ready to look up. This is why philosophy matters. It's not about having all the answers. It's about learning to live with the right questions. So as we wrap up, let's bring it back to you, listening right now. What's your cave? What shadows are you staring at, mistaking for the whole truth? Maybe it's the way you see yourself, your limits, your flaws, your potential. Maybe it's the stories your culture tells you about success or happiness or what's normal. Plato's allegory is an invitation to break free, to question, to embrace the discomfort of the light. It's not easy, it's not supposed to be, but it's worth it. Thanks for joining me in the Philosophy Zone today. If this episode sparked something in you, share it with someone who might need a nudge out of their own cave, and keep asking those big, messy, beautiful questions. Until next time, stay curious.